Has this ever happened to you?
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the?
That right there was a clip of me potatoing. Now I know you guys have all probably had a similar experience, and the reason this happens to us is because our aim gets the best of us. You can tell in that clip I absolutely missed every single shot. I regret it, and I got killed right after, but that wouldn't have happened if my aim was better, and that's what I'm going to go over today. We're going to go over how to improve your aim, what you need to improve your aim, everything about Rainbow Six Siege. I'm going to go over it, so make sure to stay tuned and consider subscribing. I make videos every week on Rainbow Six Siege. If you're looking to get better, learn something new, just anything in general Rainbow Six Siege, every week I'll have a video up, so I really appreciate you hit the bell button, subscribe, help out the channel. Alright, let's get into it. Alright, before we actually start practicing our aim in Rainbow Six Siege, we need to make sure we got the right setup and the right gear. So for mouse, I personally use the Glorious Model O, a very good mouse. It's light, great for FPS. Another thing for mice is you do not want to get some crazy mouse with like 9 million buttons. For Rainbow Six Siege and pretty much any FPS, you're just gonna need 2 or some other mouse button. I personally use the Model O. It's very, very light. I love it. Any mouse that's gonna be fast or just feels good in your hand, you want to pick that up. Some mice I would recommend personally is of course gonna be the Glorious Model O, the G2 Pro, and probably the Final Mouse. But the G2 Pro and the Final Mouse are gonna be very expensive. The Glorious Model is only coming around $50 to $60 depending on which version you buy. It's a great mouse, like I said. You should pick this one up. I personally picked this one up. But everyone has their different tastes and preferences, so make sure just to try out some mice, see what feels best. Some mice you're probably going to want to avoid are those heavy, clunky, like trash ones, like Red Dragon or some other cheap brands. These aren't going to work for Rainbow, because for Rainbow it's an FPS game. You're going to need to flick, you need to have good aim, and heavy mice just don't really do that. Also, if you're rocking one of these things, these like $2 mouse, throw that away. Those things are horrible. Try and make an investment to get some type of mice besides that one, because these are like, you'll see them in any household. They're probably used for browsing the internet. You want to get better at Rainbow, you definitely don't want to use one of these. Alright, next up we're going to have our sensitivity and DPI. Now this is probably going to be the most important part of the video, because I'm telling you, I've had 2 friends that have had their DPI to like 3,000, and they didn't think anything was wrong with it. They had no idea if their sense was good or bad, and their aim was so garbage. They finally changed it, and they eventually got better. DPI settings I'm going to recommend are 400, 800, and 1,000. Anything over that is probably not going to work for you. A lot of people will use 400 and 800. 1,000 is even pushing it for me, but I personally use 800 and I think it's really good. I've been using 800 for, man, I don't even know how long, but I've been using it pretty much the whole time I've been playing on PC, and I've gotten used to it. I really like it, but you can play 400. 800 and 400 are, they have their differences, but there's really no advantage between DPIs. Now, if you're gonna go over 800, you're gonna have the dexterity for it, because going over 800 or over 1,000 is gonna be really hard to control. You gotta remember, the higher the DPI, the harder control is going to be. Even if you put down your sensitivity, it's going to be really hard to control. So I really recommend staying between 400 to 800, maybe 1,000. But like I said, 1,000 is even pushing it for me. Next up, we have our mouse settings. As you can see, since I play an 800 DPI, I have my mouse settings a little low. We're running 12, both horizontal and vertical, and aim down sights of 42. You're going to want to have your aim down sights a bit higher than your actual sense, because mostly you're going to be aiming down your sights and flicking. So yeah, this is pretty much it. I just recommend staying down here like between 10 and 20 if you have 800, and if you have 400 you can go ahead and crank it up since you are on a lower DPI. As for aim down sights, this is all personal preference. Some people have it really high, some people have it really low. It really depends on your settings and DPI. That's about it for settings. Let's move on. Alright, now that you got your setup and your settings set up, we need to make sure we're using the right technique. So what's important when aiming is making sure, you're sitting the right way, you're holding your mouse the right way, how you're holding your mouse, and pretty much the technique and how you're going to aim. So there are 3 ways for holding your mouse. I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate, guys, for you, show how I hold it and how you should be holding it. So let's go. Alright, as you can see here, we have our mouse. The first way I want to show you is going to be palm. As you can see, my whole palm and hand is going to be covering my mouse. It gives you a lot of control. I like using this personally. It helps, as you can see, putting pretty much your whole hand on it. You can drift it across. I like it. It feels really comfortable for me. It's what I personally use. I've been pursuing that forever. Now the next one we use is fingertip. As you can see, all of my fingers are gripping the mouse. I'm not exactly using my palm like last time. I'm instead using all my fingers to control the movement of the mouse. A lot of pro players will use this gripping because it just gives them a lot more control. But the next one we have is claw. Now claw, I don't use it. I don't see a lot of people using it, but there are some pro players that like to use claw. Sometimes it gives them more control. They just like the way it feels. So if you want, you can go ahead and try claw. I personally use palm now, but claw is never a bad choice. Just try all these, see what you like, and yeah. Next up, I want to go over arm placement. So when you're holding your mouse, you want to grab it whichever which way, fingertip, claw, whatever you want. But as you can see, when holding it, I have the entirety of my arm on my desk. It doesn't have to be completely on the desk, but the important thing is that your arm is controlling the mouse. As you can see, I'm using my whole arm to move my mouse. I'm not using just my hand. What you want to avoid is this right here, using your wrist. You'll see a lot of new players do this where they're like cutting off their forearm. That is horrible. You want to stay in this position. You either go sideways, whatever you want, as long as you can use your forearm. Optimize it to your position where you're not going to be using your wrist. You get way more control. It's just way better. Some people can play wrist, but it takes a lot of dexterity to get used to that. So I just suggest using your forearm, the whole entire of your arm, to aim. It's just a lot better. I find it comfortable. Go and try a lot of positions based off the amount of space you have, but I just really recommend using your forearm. Now that we have our setup correct, we can finally look in game on ways to practice and improve our aim in the actual game. As you know, the only way to practice Rainbow Six Siege in-game is through TerraSun, and that's what we're going to be talking about. Of course, it should be pretty obvious that in order to improve your aim, you're going to need to practice TerraSun. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go more in depth on how to practice in TerraSun, what guns you should use, what maps, just a bunch of different stuff, so you can practice this and see some improvement. The first thing you're going to want to do for T-Hunt is go into your settings. Make sure you're on classic mode only, so you don't have to do like hostage, all that annoying stuff. And you're going to want to make sure you're on house and attack. This is probably the best map for aim improvement. Now, if you're looking to improve map knowledge, you probably want to do some T-Hunt on some other maps. But since we're talking about aim here, you're going to want to run house. You're going to load in, pick an operator. I picked Dokkaebi. You can pick anybody you want. But mainly what you want to do is just rush in and just start practice flicking onto the enemy. Just aim over and over again. Keep on doing this and you'll eventually get better. Something I like to do that you can see in this clip is on the attacking side, I will pick up Dokkaebi. I'll use their SMG, and as you can see in the clip right here, I'm single tap firing. I put my gun on single tap fire, which I cannot rapid fire. Doing this means I only have one bullet at a time, so I just try and flick on people's heads. I can see I'm literally just tap firing. I'll do this, I'll just rush into house, flick shot anybody I can. Doing this over and over again, I kind of saw an improvement in my aim a little bit. I think it helps a lot, so that's something you should probably do. Try that out. Do with ACOG, holographic reflex, whatever sight you're going to use, just try one tap firing. I found out that would help me a lot. Another reason why you'll see me doing this is because Rainbow Six Siege, if you hit someone in the head, they will die instantly. So even though if you're spraying, if I were to just practice tapping on the head, if I have a gun and I spray, if I could just get that crossfire placement on their head first, I'm probably going to win that gunfight 100% of the time. So it's really important to just be able to flick on someone's head no matter where they are on the screen. So just practice this. I really recommend it. If it doesn't work out for you, you can also try different methods, different scopes, all that good stuff. Something else I'll also do is, this probably won't help you that much, but it's just a habit I do, and I guess it can improve, is I'll just be in the game, and sometimes I'll just flick between a window and a doorway. I'll just keep on practicing that and trying to get as close as I can when I'm flicking. I just keep going one spot to their spot and try and make sure that I can get the same spot every single time. Besides that, on the defensive side, if we're just looking for aim, you don't really need to go on there unless you maybe want to practice with some operators and some different guns. If you want to improve aim with a certain gun, of course, use that operator. Maybe go on defense, practice spawn peeking. There's a bunch of different things you could do. Also, for those of you that are struggling to play operators like Buck or Smoke with the SMG-11, go ahead and just, play T-Hunt. Try and practice that recoil, get it down. Yes, it can be mastered. Some people think it's like impossible to control the recoil, but you actually can control it. Yes, it is very difficult with the SMG-11, but you can control it. Just go into T-Hunt, go and attack. I just recommend rushing in. Just try and practice holding down that gunfire with your mouse. Hold it down over and over again until you get it right. Alright guys, so this is gonna be the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope these tips help you. Make sure to practice in T-Hunt. Really take advantage of these. They will help you. Make sure you do exactly what I said, and you'll definitely see improvement. But yeah, I upload weekly. Next week I'll have a video up. The week after that, I'll have a video up. Make sure to subscribe, turn that bell notification on, and it really helped me out. Peace out.